See, I'm just sitting here thinking up a bunch of videos to do because I don't know. It's a nice day. I'm sitting in my car. Got the new Metallica album. I'm just kind of energized, in a good mood. I don't know. It just popped in my head. Reasons why I don't like Saint Anger. Okay, like I know this is something that's not. This is not a new topic at all. I just feel like giving my input because I feel like my input might be similar to other people's input, but I got my own reasons, and there's certain things that other people emphasize that I do not emphasize about Saint Anger. First of all, the elephant in the room is always the snare. And while the snare is stupid and it doesn't sound good, that's not even the biggest reason I don't like Saint Anger. That's not even. I don't even know if I put that in the top 5 reasons. Maybe it is the 5th reason. But I don't know. I think the biggest reasons why I don't like Saint Anger is specifically the songwriting and the execution. Well, okay. The songwriting itself. Okay, it's been proven that Saint Anger, as a concept, the ideas aren't necessarily bad. Because when they re-recorded that in 2015, that project where they re-recorded all of Saint Anger and trimmed it down and polished it up and made it sound the way it probably should have in the first place, it proved that Saint Anger wasn't a bad album. It was just poorly executed. That was the biggest problem. And I think that the reason why the songwriting to me was poor, while there was cool ideas, the songs were too long. Like, every song could have been trimmed down. And how am I the only person that talks about this? Take the song Saint Anger, for instance. Why am I the only one that talks about this? Have you not noticed that the whole song is copy and pasted practically? I'm not saying it was copied and pasted, but you could have, and it wouldn't have mattered. The verses are the same. The chorus is the same. The pre-chorus is the same. Rinse and repeat 3 times. But seriously, that's what it is. The only thing that splits it up is the middle part where Hetfield screams about his anger. That's it. That's the whole song. That is it. And it's like 8 minutes or something? Like, I can't remember. I don't even own that album anymore, but to me, that's the biggest problem with the album. Stuff like that. And there could have been a killer solo in the middle of the song that could have really brought it a little more to life, made it more interesting. But I got no reason to sit through 8 minutes of that. There's no reason. That's the biggest problem with the album, is I don't want to sit through a lot of copied and pasted sounding stuff. That's the problem. And there's nothing to break it up. Hardly. Some songs have different parts here and there that actually in different actual verses, but even those songs are just too long and they don't need to be. And then the no solos, that's a huge problem. I mean, if the songs were condensed down and more interesting as a whole, maybe no solos would have been okay. Some of my favorite bands will write songs that don't include solos sometimes. Sometimes you don't even notice because it doesn't need to be there. But I think it could have used it here. You add solos when you think when it needs it, and it needed it. You don't write songs that long with very little ideas to fill it up without adding a solo. But I don't know. So that's my biggest problem there. The production. I mean, dude. Okay, going raw is one thing, but when you're got millions of dollars, and your idea of going raw is going into a studio that's worth millions of dollars or $1 million or whatever, and you're trying to manufacture something raw using awesome gear and equipment, and you're trying to go backwards with it, that's not my idea of raw. My idea of raw is using cheap microphones in a garage, that's raw. That's, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, it's just not my idea of what raw is. Kill 'Em All sounds more raw than that. Saint Anger just sounds poorly produced. There's a difference. Raw and poorly produced. To me, there's a fine line. I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. And of course, like, yeah, the snare does suck. It's annoying. But at least I understand what they were trying to do. It just didn't come off the way they thought it did in their minds, in my opinion. Some people think the album is aged like a fine wine. I think it sits exactly where it has. I've never liked the album, and it's not because it's a popular... I'm not standing with the popular viewpoint just because that's the popular viewpoint. I just literally don't like the album. I never have. I remember when it was coming out. I remember what they were saying when it was coming out. I was in high school. There was this kid that was a Metallica fanatic that was printing off like these reviews of people like listening to the album before it was released, and they were saying it was like back to the old school, and it's so technical, and it made Injustice for All sound like Little Ramones ditties in comparison. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be like masterful. And that is nothing like, it's not old school sounding. It's not technical. Well, I mean, there's a lot of parts to some of the songs, a lot of generic parts that don't need to be there, but it's not technical in the right. Injustice for All is still more technical. There's still a lot more going on than, I don't know. I don't know. It was just all lies, and they're saying like they're using their instruments like surgical tools. I don't know. It sounds pretty dang sloppy to me. If my surgeon, if I needed a surgery, and that's what they were doing to me, what they did to those songs, God help me. God help me. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Those are my reasons why I didn't like Saint Anger. Some of them are other people's reasons, but again, it wasn't primarily the snare like most people. If you want to listen to that album, seriously, the re-recorded version on YouTube is phenomenal. I mean, it's still not my favorite album of all time or anything. Like, I still don't think like that album is that amazingly great anyway, but it is actually pretty good the way it was re-recorded. Like, I could listen to that and it's okay. Like, it wouldn't annoy me. I would actually listen to it. I'd probably buy it on CD, the re-release version, but that's neither here nor there. It just is the way it is what it is. So, thanks for listening. See you later.